Lesson number 3, title of the oration, Engaging Our Constitution.
Engaging our Constitution. Give me liberty or give me death. These are the timeless words of Patrick Henry as he appealed for militia on March 20th, 1775. A year later, over 50 men from 13 states mutually pledged to one another their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. For what? For freedom. Freedom was the very thing the Constitution was designed to preserve. We would agree that freedom without responsibility is anarchy. Albert Hubbard declared, "Responsibility is the price of freedom." Thomas Jefferson said it this way, "It is every American's right and responsibility to read and interpret the Constitution for himself." There are certain balances that our founders were hoping to achieve regarding freedom and responsibility. Let me ask you, is it possible to have too much freedom? Here's an even better question. Is it possible to have too much government? If you are a student of our Constitution, then you know that the Constitution is our safeguard against too much government. Our founding fathers not only liberated us from English tyranny, but also preserved our freedom by designing a government whose primary purpose is to preserve freedom in the most orderly way possible. The 3 branches of government were created in response to an oppressive English monarchy. Our founding fathers crafted the Constitution to preserve a free and independent country. What was their plan for preserving our freedom? 3 mutually accountable branches. The legislative branch is built upon the House of Representatives and the Senate. The duties of the House include the power to initiate bills, the duty to impeach federal officials, and the duty to elect the president if there's a tie in electoral college. The Senate has the power to both impeach a government official and approve any treaties made by the executive branch. The executive branch of the U.S. government is commander-in-chief of the military, is the one who signs bills to become laws, and is the only branch that has the power to veto a bill. Understanding where this responsibility ends in each branch is what being an American is all about. Our founding fathers had specific intentions for each of the branches. For example, the judicial branch has the responsibility to interpret the U.S. Constitution, review laws, and decide on cases involving states' rights. What if our founders would have given us only 2 branches of government? If they would have mixed the executive branch with the judicial branch? The president would be in control of almost everything. A monarchy is exactly what our founders were trying to avoid when they wrote and signed the Constitution. James Madison said, "The truth is that all men having power ought to be mistrusted." Our founding fathers knew the Constitution would be tested. They saw the future and purposely avoided political traps like these. Our founding fathers designed the Constitution so that no branch could possess absolute power. Sandra Day O'Connor stated, "It matters enormously to a successful democratic society, like ours, that we have 3 mutually accountable branches, each with some independence and some control over the other 2. Looking back, the Constitution allocates lawmaking responsibilities to Congress, and Congress alone. Interpretation of these laws to the judicial branch, and the day-to-day operation to the executive branch. Abraham Lincoln said, "We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts." Not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. By distributing responsibilities so precisely, the Constitution protects states' rights and prevents governments from encroaching upon the freedoms we've defended for over 200 years. But 200 years ago, we faced different problems as a nation. In the last 200 years, we've seen more changes in how humans share, organize, and store information than in all history combined. Let me get right to the point here. If we are content to rely upon our government to be the sole interpreters of our Constitution, then we've lost sight of the whole purpose of the Constitution. Americans, we need to engage our Constitution. America's 60% participation in the last presidential election indicates that voting is a very low priority. And yet, is there a person in this room that would not agree that voting is among our first civic responsibility? Why is voting such a low priority for Americans? Because we have a shallow and cursory knowledge of what the Constitution stands for and what its authors intended. The Constitution is a living document. We need to engage in it the way we engage in conversation with a close friend. We need to love it. We need to understand it, so that we will be more comfortable to share this knowledge onto this generation and the next. September 17th is Constitution Day. Public schools are called upon nationwide to teach the Constitution on this day. However, we would all agree that the current 10% participation is not acceptable. This is no fault of the students. I think we can agree that Americans, with the exception of the American Legion, are constitutionally ignorant. CNN recently interviewed citizens to reveal how well they knew the Constitution. The outcome was shocking. 37% of Americans could not name a single right protected by our First Amendment. Not only that, 33% could not name a single right not name one branch of government. John Quincy Adams fought to end slavery his entire life without seeing the fruit of his labor. After one term as president and 17 years as a congressman, our sixth president died of a stroke, fighting to end slavery. What if he would have chosen a more winnable political issue, making him more, shall we say, electable? Although he never personally succeeded, he continued to fight for right. While never attaining his goal, he never gave up. When a reporter asked John Quincy Adams how he persevered through so many years of failure, he quickly replied, "Duty is ours, results are God's." However, Adams had a protege by the name of Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln also had a passion to see the end of slavery. Abraham Lincoln succeeded because Adams had a passion that extended beyond his own political success. We may not see the fruit of our efforts, but it is our duty to read, study, and teach the Constitution. After being tested for over 2 centuries, the Constitution still works. It is our living document, so we need to engage in it as we would engage in anything else. The Constitution preserves our freedom because it was precisely designed to distribute power between mutually accountable branches. 200 years from now, the Constitution will continue to be amended, as was intended, but it will only serve us effectively as long as we remember it was designed to preserve freedom and to protect us from oppressive or excessive government. Thomas Jefferson said, "Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure alliance for the preservation of our liberty." Our founders earned their freedom. How will we earn ours? By engaging our Constitution and one another on the heart and soul of our Constitution. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." What is your plan for engaging our Constitution? Thank you.